recording. Hello, everyone. This is Renata Gomide, and we are here today with another Ideas for Divas videocast. So today we are going to be talking about how wellness and balance are important for organizations and how we can help our teams to improve well-being. So I'm here today with Elizabeth Wagner, that is an expert in the topic. So Liz, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, well, thanks, Renata. I'm honored to be, called an expert. Not sure that's true, but I do try. I'm focused on employee experience. That I work for a professional services firm and spend my, all day, every day. Have the best job at my firm, focused on how to create an employee experience, create the best employee experience for all of our people. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. So in the Ideas for Divas definition, divas are authentic. So they set new trends, they don't care about what others think, and they establish standards and norms. So how do you identify yourself with this definition?
Well, I always think of a diva as, like Renee Fleming. So again, I'm honored to think of myself that way. But I would say, as far as being authentic, that has always been my hallmark. Sometimes for worse, but I think, almost 9.9 out of 10 times, it's always worked in my favor. When I have failed the most is when I have not been myself. And I learned that very early on, that, just by being myself it's less draining. It's the best way to work. You show up, you are who you are, of course, within limits, right? It's still work, but when I've tried to be someone I'm not, or do something that doesn't feel right, it always falls flat, and I feel instantly exposed, and people can see right through it. So I'm not good at, for better or worse, at being anyone other than myself. And I think, I've embraced it and decided there are probably times when I could have played it straighter, or maybe said a little less, or been a little less myself, maybe a little more somber. But for the most part, it has served me well to just be myself. Having seen when I haven't been myself, it's been a disaster. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that sometimes is a challenge, but it's very good at for you. This is natural. So our first question. Why is it important for organizations to embed wellness into the culture?
Well, I think it's absolutely, and spending all day, every day on it. It's what fuels. If you want to be innovative, if you want to have, great ideas, passion, and drive, if you don't have people who are engaged and feeling good in their personal life, you're not going to get the outcome at work that you want. You'll get the short term. And I think that can be a challenge. We often look at short-term gains over the longer term, but I absolutely think it is tied to, you can work people to death. Absolutely. You can make some money in the short term, but if you truly want innovation and to stay on top, you have to really put your people first, because eventually they will tire of it and people will change. I've worked for my company for a long time, and people turn over, they leave, they will move on. Nothing will ever stay the same, and the people have changed. I've seen in the last 20 years, will demand different things. So why not be out in front of that instead of trying to catch up after working people to death and hope it works out for you? It won't. So wellness absolutely has to be, really, I think, part and parcel to, especially, in a field where, if what you're selling are the skills of your people, you have to stay focused on them, because they have to come being their best selves to work every day.
Yeah, and I think that the past 2 years have just proven to us that wellness is important. And I think that it's in our face right now. There's no way to hide. So I think that it's great that you are bringing this up. So how do you help your teams to improve wellness?
Well, I think what I've tried to, I think we think something needs to be complex. We think often it needs to be complex if it's going to be effective, if it's going to work. It can kind of confuse complexity with effectiveness. And what I've tried to say is that's not really the goal, but just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. And what we've seen, and I think sometimes we get in our own way thinking, well, saying thank you or showing appreciation to somebody or respecting their time off or not emailing them late at night, or, that doesn't really matter. It's not really going to have an impact because that's easy. It's got to be something much harder. And in looking at, if I go back 10 years of research, we have the same findings over and over again. What people want are really basic human, interactions, connections, and respect. And I will challenge anyone who says differently. It really is. People want to be thanked. They want to come to, they want to feel like themselves. And it's personal life is the same way. You want to be, respected, and you want to be recognized for who you are and accepted for who you are. Work is no different either. So, I think what can be challenging is people gloss that over so frequently because it sounds easy, but it's not. It takes time. It takes time. It is free, but it is time consuming to thank someone, but it's mutually beneficial. And that's one of the, if I could wave my wand, I would say you don't need huge programs and complex systems, but you do need to connect with your people. And unfortunately, that does take time, but the time's worth it. And if you invest it, you will get it back. But if you think there's a way to cheat getting around showing a personal interest in someone, thanking them, expressing gratitude and treating people with respect, there's no way around doing it other than doing it. There's no bot, there's no quick way, there's no way to outsource it. You have to show that genuine, and make that genuine connection. And that is, what I've really learned that is kind of the whole point of life, is we're all just trying to make connections, and we're not feeling that connection. We're not feeling that respect. That's when things really start to go south. So that's what I've tried with my team, just to say, this is something that, this is not an extra. This has got to be part of how we do work in and out every day. It's a maintenance activity. It's not, there's no start or stop. It is ongoing. It's like flossing. It's like eating your vegetables. You got to do it every day. And that's the only way that you will maintain a healthy workplace.
Yeah, I think that these are all great points. I think that we can make things sound more complicated than they really are. And I think that everything that you're saying also creates like a positive cycle. So today you're a manager, you're treating your team well. Tomorrow they're going to be managers. They know that that's the way to treat their team. Like the way that you're empowering them to take care of themselves, they're going to empower others. So I think that you just create that ripple effect that goes across the organization. So one thing that I usually identify myself, like sometimes you work for a large organization and you think that the culture is in the hands of the leadership team, like the CEO, the C-level. It should be, everybody should be living the culture and then spreading across, so people feel more and more empowered to do that. So I'm so excited that you're saying that this is simple. It's the day-to-day that counts. It's not like expensive initiatives. So that's super, super, super good. Next question, and that's our last question. So what is your advice to improve balance between work and other areas of life?
I would think, and it's simple, but not easy necessarily. I do think that, yes, we have to push our leaders to respect others' boundaries. We have to demand better, but at the same time, you have to be your best advocate. And if you open the door to, and I'll give a simple example, if you open the door to responding to email when you're on vacation, that's on you. And, and I think that more times than not, way more times than not, it feels good to feel important. Everybody, I feel important. I like to feel needed, and work is no different. And there have been times in my life where I have, stayed up all night and, answered calls and answered emails during work. But I was feeding into that cycle. And there was a part of me that was doing it because on some level, I enjoyed the feeling of importance.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that, I recognize that I was kind of creating this we'll call it a non-virtuous cycle of, well, now I've just opened the door and pulled myself out of the moment. And now I'm in work mode. And so anyone else on the other side who is in work mode, they're going to take advantage of that. I would, I've responded. So now I'm in it. Now I'm in that cycle. If you truly want something different, you have to be the one advocating and you have to be the one doing it, making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think it always necessarily means saying no or waiting till you get mad or leaving. It really just can be, I'm just not going to respond after certain hours. Because once I do, then I've said, yeah, I'll respond all the time. I've set that tone for myself and I've kind of, open Pandora's box on that one. So, and I find myself, I do it at night where I'll think, oh, I really shouldn't check email, but I kind of want to. And one of the best articles I read, phones are designed like slot machines. They are designed to keep you engaged and keep you there. And, because you open it and you might have something good, or there might be something interesting, but there's also bad news too. And then it's 10 o'clock at night and you're reading email and you're thinking, well, now I'm sucked in again. And I did this to myself. So that's what I would just say is work is never a life sentence. You always have free will. It might not feel like that, but having perspective, I think that's really is having the perspective of, and if you are in have a toxic boss, of course, there are all kinds of bad situations that are hard to get out of. And we want to create a culture that isn't like that, but you're your own best advocate at the end of the day. And you're in control of you. So if you're not being treated with the respect or having your boundaries respected, which does happen, that's when it's time to think about, moving on to something new, and finding it out, because that's okay too. It's okay to leave. You should not just sit and suffer if you're not being treated the way that you want to be treated. Again, not a life sentence. So you can leave at any time. That's often my advice. When I talk to people, sometimes I think, this is not jail, right? Like you are allowed to be. Really, it might feel like it, but it really isn't. So be your own best advocate.
Yeah, that's great. I usually try to empower people, especially when they are like younger, starting their careers. But the advice here, don't wait for someone to empower you. You have the power. And that's what I try to tell my teams. Like when people come to me, say like, I'm going to take one day off, but I'm going to be available. And I'm like, see what you're doing to yourself. That's not the right behavior. You deserve the vacation. You're not going to be available. So next project, next person you work with, next manager you have, let's change it. Otherwise, you're always going to be on call. But like, don't wait for someone to help you, because sometimes you're not going to have this person. You shouldn't be waiting. I think that everybody should be empowered. And I think that everything that you said, it's make completely sense that if you put yourself out there will be opportunities for you to work and there will be opportunities for you not to have balance. So
yeah,
that was great. So thank you, Liz. That was great talking to you. I hope that everybody watching this can take something out of it. If you're a manager or if you're starting your career, that you should be prioritizing your work-life balance. If you like this, please click to subscribe in the YouTube channel and also the Ideas for Divas blog. And I hope that I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.